So what we do, the other thing, you might be able to see, we've got these small little marks just down here in the glass, okay? Personal choice, do you want to actually paint them up and put the details into it? You probably do, or you can leave them. Bit of a masking job for this one, so it's going to take a little bit of time, but all we're going to do is use thin tapes, okay, and work your way around. Now, two options to this, you could cover it in one, and then just come in and then spray it, or you could take your time and do a line at a time. So we've got like an H shape, so you could go like this, okay, and you could say, right, okay, we're coming on the other one. Okay, and then we're going to need a little bit for the rear. Just stop it going too far because it doesn't go any further than that. Okay, and then we could just spray this line here, let it dry, unmask, spray the next line in, unmask, and then put the middle one in as well. Personal choice how you do it, as you say, it's just one of those things. Spray down black first, again, so it shows through from the other side. That way you don't get that opaque look going through. Or you could come along with something a little bit bigger, okay. Put the tape right the way over everything. We showed before, hold up to the light, you can see the pattern in there, cut it all out from it, okay, then spray it in one. So it's personal choice. It's going to take a bit of time with that one. We'll get that one done in a minute. At the same time, you might want to go around and do things like the lights, the nav lights, paint them all up first, so when you put them on, they're all dry. So again, you're not handling them and putting them in as you go around everywhere. Okay, so we're moving on with the glass work. We've got all them installed in. You can probably see the door ones in there now, looking pretty nice. I say black from the inside on the outside, so when you look at it like here, it really works. These where they're in injects, obviously it's raw paint. Now these top ones, always tricky ones to get in, but it's one of those ones where you take your time with it, okay, and test fitting is everything. So I stick mine on to a little bit of blue tack like this, and then we come along and we see how it fits in, alright? So we can see it's not so bad at the front, perhaps a little bit high towards the rear. So all we've got is a very fine sanding stick, and then literally we just give it a little bit of at a time, okay? This is why this needs to be totally dry. You're handling it a lot, sanding. If it's a bit tacky, before you know it, you've made a huge mess. Again, stick it to the tack, okay? And then you can put it in, and to me that looks pretty darn good. Okay, so next thing, how are you going to glue that in? Traditionally, you could come along with some of your weld glues, put them in, but obviously the clear parts that's going to fog it isn't going to happen. So for me, I like to use crystal clear. So what we do, we get a generous blob on the end of the cocktail stick, okay, and then what we're going to do is work it around everywhere. So normally I would spin this round. Okay, you want this to stay in position. And then what you do, you just lay and smear this glue all over it, because this will take care of any raised edges and blend them in. Okay, so you want them to go around absolutely everywhere, making sure you're all tucked into the areas you want. Got a little bit to go at the back here. Okay, now this stuff won't take long to go off, and before you think, what the hell's he doing? Put it on there, let it just bite. When we say bite, we're just going to give this, you know, as we talk here, 25 seconds to get going. You don't want to leave it minutes, otherwise what's going to happen is, before you know it, it's going to be dry and quite hard to get off, okay? But what you want the glue to do is actually start to stiffen up a little bit, get a little bit thicker and a little bit more problematic. So then what we do, we come along with our cocktail sticks, cotton buds, wet them totally, okay? Then what we're going to do, I think it's got a bit more central. We're just going to push from the inside, working outwards. But you need to keep your cotton bud wet. Otherwise, you end up going to be just pulling it around instead of working it around. So all we're going to do now, wet the cotton bud, switch to a fresh one. Okay, then take out the glue marks on the outside. Remember, keeping the cotton bud nice and wet, because anywhere it's a little bit stiff, it should reactivate it, but it will act as a filler as well as a gluer, if you like, all in one. So once you're done, okay, you just wet it. And what we'll do afterwards, if it's a little bit foggy, like this one over here has been done just before, we'll give it another polish up. And there we go. That will dry, obviously totally clear around this edge. Job's done, no problem at all. We'll get that one in there. So we just get the other doors, glass, everything on there. As you can see, we've already got the gear on it as well and everything else, so we can really start to bring it together. Okay, and there you go. Last couple of bits that all went on with this one. We put the mirrors on the front, okay, these little mirrors down the front here. We've also gone around and we put on the windscreen wipers, the PTO tubes, things like that. Installed the door, super glue, and then a little bit of white glue. Using white glue for all of these little parts going on here. It's far too close to glasswork to come in with any other type of glue, because obviously you don't want any fogging, things like that. The only trouble we did have, we had a lot of dust down in the old front windows down here, down by the ankles. Airbrush. High air pressure, blow it through. And luckily it all went, which was quite a handy little thing. Rotor head itself, as you can see, is on here. It all does come off and makes it easier to fold it up and things like that. And obviously then you can pop it on like this and have it in the folded configuration. Just make sure you clamp these plates together when you all put it together, okay? And then lay it down when they're clamped. Otherwise, what will happen is you get too much droop angle. If they're not done properly, you end up putting them on and it's literally hanging on the floor, okay? So as I said, don't get any glue in the joins themselves, but this way it makes them nice and easy now. They will fold up, okay, so making it easier to stow this away, certainly if you've got it on your shelf and everything else like that. Not the best kit, as we've said, all the way through this, to be honest. It's a bit of a nightmare. I'd like to see the front end as a one piece like we saw on the Revell Chinook. That way, instead of it being a 7-piece area around here, 2 windows, top plate, windscreen, nose, and then the windows, having to put it all together was a nightmare at the end of the day. It was one of those things, it just didn't work. It was extremely hard work to get them to conform, to be in the right angles, and the nightmare scenario of are you getting a glue mark on it, which to be honest we have got a small one down the front here, and cracking it, and to be honest I've got the tiniest little crack in the corner. Luckily I can get away with it because it is so close to the corner, but that's where I was trying to bend it in and get it to conform in together. The main point of this one really was doing the sanding and the filler work and everything else that went with it. And I think underneath we've got no seam line running down through the middle, which is quite a nice touch all round here on the back. So we took care of that one nicely. We haven't got any big seams around here on the back end of it, on the top. We took care of those nicely. And then it was a case of going through with this painting system. So we did something totally new with this one, where we mixed wash and paint together to give us this smoked tail effect, where it looks like the exhaust going down there and gives it a nice gritty textured finish. Remember, when you're using the wash with paint, you're not using the wash, okay? You're actually using paint. So when it goes on, it will stick and you will never get it off, okay? So just be a little bit careful if you're just imagining it's the same as the wash and goes through. But by putting the wash over this, we've got this nice grimy textured finish. And by using it with multiple stages of painting underneath, and on top, and post shading, pre-shading, everything else, we've come up with this nice looking weathered down Seahawk and right the way through it. It was a bit of a speedy build with this one, being a quick build of it, but it was one of those ones, I think we covered all the important areas as we made our way through the build. I really enjoyed this one, and it sort of given me the bug for doing helicopters. Love to do this in 1/32 if anybody ever did one. But certainly for a 148 kit, yes, it's not very nice, but it does look stunning at the end of the day. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have, join me again next time.